to our children? So that's the number one question. So I'm going to use that as a starting point, and then we can carry on from there. So there's a number of ways that I can think of answering this question. The first is, I still feel our focus is always on the children, and one of the mistakes we make is that if we've understood something, we've heard a lecture, is that, okay, quick, now how do we teach the children? This isn't what we've been taught, this is something new, this is good, we like it, it makes sense, now how do we teach the children? I strongly believe that we have to teach ourselves. And this is not an overnight lesson. I really truly believe that if we start to understand the value of this ourselves, we will be able to teach the next generations collectively, rather than looking towards myself or anybody else as a vichaar or whatever you want to call us, to say, what are you going to do to help my children? And the truth of the matter is that it's very difficult to teach someone anything in one session. I can come and today there was a session, why aren't you doing something with the youngsters? Because if I do something with the youngsters for once or one session, it's going to have no impact. And the reason I can say that is because I've been doing this for many years, and I've been going to camps for many years, and I've been speaking to the young children, and my understanding is now that the sorts of things that Gurmat is teaching requires learning over a period of time. It's not an overnight learning, it's not something that you can do just by listening to some lecture. The number one main requirement is that you have to try to do the Naam Simran yourself. It's not a logical exercise, it's not something that you just learn and listen to some lectures. You must do the practice of Naam, and I always recommend that there are two practices of Naam. One is Naam Japra, the other is Naam Simran. And I call them two different things. Naam Japra is what I call the formal practice, sitting down, concentrated and doing that. Naam Simran, the word Simran means to remember. And that I call the informal practice, which means as you're walking around throughout your day, you have to try and keep that Naam Simran going. But again, it's not God calling. We talked about this earlier as well. It's not about God calling, it's about God realizing. So a VG at the camp gave me a very good example, and he said, like, this is how I understand it. He says that you have to remember all the time that God is talking within you. That there is this alive thing, God, within you all the time. Whether we call that consciousness or whether we call it God or Ikunkar, if you constantly remember that within you is the power of the universe, and the power of the universe is flowing through you, then even as you're having conversations with someone, you can realize that this is not me having that conversation, this is that divine power that's having that conversation to another divine power. So this must be something that is practiced. If you do not practice this, it's just knowledge, and your children will reject it. Your children will reject something that you yourself have not known. So while I completely understand the sentiment and the absolute desperation from parents, what do we do with our children? The deeper desperation you should have is, what should I be doing with myself? And that doesn't help straight away. Because at the back of your head you might be thinking, yes, but what do I do with my children while I'm learning this myself? And the truth is, we have to stop looking at Gurmat as a religion for them to accept or reject. I don't think this is a religion for them to accept or reject. I think if Gurmat starts to transform your life, they will start to see that change in your life. Not that the change in your life means that you do a whole bunch of different things. You're waking up early and you're changing your diet and you're changing what clothes you wear. That's not what we're trying to pass on to our children. We're trying to pass on the awareness of losing ourselves, the awareness that this whole universe is in control, the awareness that the universe is always doing something. We call that something hukam. Whatever the universe is doing is really out of our control, and we have to find the peace with whatever the universe is doing. So these are the sorts of internal changes that we have to make, and that's how I'm going to answer this question. And I'm purposely answering it in a slightly controversial way so that we can get you all thinking. And then please feel free to put your hand up and have another counter argument. Maybe somebody else will have something else. But I really want to make this an interactive session so you actually give us your feedback and everyone can learn from each other. It's great to learn from somebody sitting on the front of the stage, but I always feel that the Sangat can learn from each other and I can learn from you more than you can learn from me. So either we'll carry on with this particular question, or I know lots of you today have said, can I stop you and can I ask you a question? So I think we also said that we were going to have a question, so we can start with that. Or anybody else if you have any question. So there's one question there at the back.
I get very confused a lot of the times when I'm doing Gurbani. If I say Guru Sahib, God's will is everything, whatever is happening, Hukam Baba Ji da ho raha hai, so things are beyond our control. And then we say our thoughts make our destiny. So are we making our own destiny, or things were destined to happen?
So the question is, I get very confused when Gurbani says that God is in control of everything, Hukam is in control of everything. But then sometimes Gurbani also tells us that we have control over things. And our thoughts are controlling our destiny. So are our thoughts controlling our destiny, or is something been preordained? This is probably the most common question, so I wouldn't feel too worried about it. Actually, almost everyone, when we present this idea of Hukam, oneness, universe controlling everything, ends up at this point, which is what am I supposed to do then? Or do I need to do anything, or can I just lie down in bed and do nothing?
I'll tell you where it's coming from. So sometimes you come across people who are really, really good human beings, but they don't believe in Guruji or God. And then you feel, okay, maybe just another time they will realize. But then at the same time, if the thought's not starting, how will they ever be destined to be in Guru's club? You know, is it under their control, or it's not destined in their kismet to be with Guru?
Okay, so now the question is very specifically around their entry into Gurmat wisdom, rather than just general life questions, yeah? So shall we answer it from this particular way? Or is it two parts?
Both ways.
Okay, both ways. Okay, sure. So what is in our control and what is... Maybe put your mic off if... Yeah, that's all. Yes? Good to go? So the question is, what is in our control? Do we need to do anything, or does the universe control absolutely everything? What I find is that Gurbani actually speaks to us at many different levels. So at the beginning of the journey, we are under the impression that we are an individual. And as long as you are under that impression that you are an individual, the Guru will speak to you as though you are an individual. So the Guru will say to you, Ape beat, ape hika. Whatever you sow, so shall you reap. You have to do the effort. Why aren't you doing the effort? Why are you wasting your life? And what that starts to do is that Guru is very, very advanced and sophisticated in understanding that no matter what you understand, really we're actually motivated by our emotions more than we're motivated by our understanding. So if we look at a perfectly good example, if you look at any real addiction, the reason we do it, despite knowing that we shouldn't be doing it, is because we feel like doing it. Logically, we understand we shouldn't do something, but because there's a feeling, The feeling, the emotion overrides the logic. So Guru is trying to evoke the emotion within you to say, let's actually make this change. But what is the change? What is the change that we all need to make? The change that we need to make is to let go of the sense that I am. I exist and I am in control. When you go through the process and realize that you have no control, then Guruji speaks to you in a different way, because Guruji then speaks in a way that says, oh, I realized that all this time, even the time when I thought I was an individual, that was also your doing. So it's never a question of either or. You are in control as long as you believe that you are in control. And the Guru is using your own wisdom against you. Okay, you think you're in control, this is what I think you should be doing then. Off you go, go and do it. But when we come to the point where we realize that actually I didn't exist to begin with, then we might start using the sorts of language that you see towards the end of Japji Sahib, which is Aakhar Jor Chupai Na Jor. I have no power to speak, no power to be silent. Jor na mangan den na jor. No power to give, no power to ask. Jor na jeevan mar na jor. I don't have the power to live, and I don't have the power to even die. So the question is that ultimately it's not that the Guru is giving conflicting answers. The question is that which answer is working for me to start moving my journey along? Which one is it that's motivating me more? Chances are none of them are motivating us. We like the sound of everything, but we aren't actually doing anything. We're not taking the steps that we need to. So we have to understand that this is a system of the whole universe playing all the different characters. So if we understand that the world is like a drama, a play, with one actor, but that actor has many different roles. The one actor of the whole universe, the universal force, Hukam, is pretending to be you and yourself and everybody else in this room. That oneness is pretending to be you. And that oneness is also talking to you, saying, why are you not understanding that you are part of the oneness? And when you see it in this way, you realize how ridiculous the whole thing is. And this is where the Bhagats have stood back and laughed and said, this is all a game. This is all this divine play, and I can see how ridiculous it all really is. God is playing us, God has created us, God has given us an ego, and then God has given himself an ego through these different individuals. Then God has delivered the Guru, and then he's saying it's good prasad. Some people get it and some people don't. The only way to understand this is to take a step back and see what's really going on. That this whole thing is God playing with God. Yeah? This is why the word Leela has been used. This is the play of the divine. Choji, mere Govinda, Choji, mere Pyarya. My beloved is just having a great time, playing all the characters. Yeah? It's like you see a child playing with the various toys. In one hand he's got the good toy, in one hand he's got the bad toy, and they're fighting with each other. There's no good and bad. The character is both. Yeah, both the characters is being played by the same child, the same one playing. Now it goes to this question, okay, so how do we help someone who is just not understanding this wisdom? How do we get someone off their own mentality so that they can start learning the Guru's way of looking at life? And this really comes down to you will receive this wisdom when you are ready. And the scary thought is you might not be ready within this lifetime. But the encouraging thought is that if you feel like this wisdom is starting to change you, how lucky are you? Just think, there are 7 billion people on this planet. how many of them even know about Gurmat wisdom? And of all of the ones that know about Gurmat wisdom, how many have had the blessing to have their minds start to be changed? And it comes down to you focusing on yourself. And this is the opposite of what the world tells you to do. Because you looking after yourself in the world has been called selfish. But the whole of Guru Granth Sahib is about you transforming yourself. Guru Granth Sahib Ji doesn't spend a lot of effort telling you how to teach other people. There's not many shabads on that subject. So the Guru wants you to transform yourself. When you are transformed, you will be having an impact on the others, whether you like it or not. And this is where the Guru gives this example of like a very fragrant tree that's giving its fragrance to all the other trees around it, whether they're of the same kind or not. You will become so fragrant in this wisdom that it will rub off on others. So it goes back again and again and again. What are you doing to transform yourself? And this is a hard lesson because you have so much love for somebody else. How do I help that person? But think about this. Where is the love for yourself? Where is the love and compassion for yourself? What am I doing? Because it's so easy to look at somebody else, it's actually easier to do that. As long as you've got somebody else that you can say, they need more help than I do, what you're really doing is saying, I'm not willing to go as far myself. So let me prove how compassionate I can be for somebody else, that I'm going to help them. Be compassionate to yourself first. Allow the Guru to penetrate your mind first, and that's a very difficult thing to do. So, it might sound harsh, but don't delude yourself that you're helping other people. It might sound harsh. I'm not trying to be harsh. Don't delude yourself that you're helping other people get into Sikhi. We haven't even scratched the surface. Learning everything about Sikhi means nothing compared to somebody who starts to transform the identity of themselves and let go of that sense of self. That home, the one who actually lets go of their home, that's the job that the Guru is trying to do, nothing else. Guru doesn't want you to learn all the shabads. Guru doesn't want you to memorize all the words. Guru doesn't want you to look like a Sikh. Guru wants you to remove your home. Do that, and you yourself will have a major impact on the people all around you. So it always comes down to change yourself, and the world around you will change. Next question, please. One here, Viji.
Why did it Khalsa? Why did it do this? Could you just the issue of going to war? We go to war with high spirits. We don't fight a war with anger. War.
Yeah, we go to war with
high spirit.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that word. Thank you.
So there's a fine difference between growth and Chartikala. Likewise, in everyday life, there's a big difference between your having an honest pride and having an ego. Man versus Sankar. So what I'm quite confused about is all the third example where when we're speaking to someone else in everyday life. Where do you draw the line between Satya and Nindya? If you're speaking the truth versus Nindya. First, anger versus Chartikala. Second, honest pride versus the ego. Third is Sat in India. So what confuses me is Sat in India. If you're speaking to somebody about an issue we're very passionate about. And in that conversation, you have to, while speaking the truth, you bring down somebody. So is that truth or is that India?
That's a very good question. I'll just start with that truth and India section, and then maybe we can go on to the other parts as well. So the question is, when you are speaking the truth, what is the difference between speaking the truth and hurting someone's feelings or insulting them or bringing somebody else down? With your truth, you're able to disprove somebody else's idea. What is the difference? How do you know which is the right? When you are speaking the truth or when you are speaking in a way that's insulting to the others? The answer comes down to one word: compassion. When you speak the truth out of compassion, then you have no malice towards the other person. You have no desire that they may feel belittled or small. In fact, your reason for having a conversation with them is that they may also rise up, not that they may go down so that you may come up. One of the rules that I like to live with in life is to only engage with discussion and never engage with debate. Always vichaar and never argument. And what my criteria is to decide whether something is discussion or debate is discussion is to decide what is right. Debate is to decide who is right. If the very purpose of you having the conversation with the other is that you want to feel more right, then you should stop that discussion. You should stop that debate, because that debate will ultimately be worse for you. If the point of the conversation is that both of you may be able to gain an understanding, then that is a discussion worth going into. And how I judge whether I'm speaking to somebody who wants to debate with me or to discuss with me is I feel in my heart whether they are willing to be wrong. And I will feel in my heart whether I am willing to be wrong. That is how I know I'm entering into a discussion. I will enter into a discussion with anyone because I know that I don't have all the answers. It could be that you might have an answer that is better than what I have. And so it is in my interest to speak to you so that I may learn something and I may get rid of all of my ignorance. So for me, that is the deciding factor. Am I willing to be wrong? And when you use that, you will very quickly be able to see in the eyes of the person that you're having a discussion with, are they willing to be wrong? If they are not willing to be wrong, it means they already have the answer in their head and they are simply debating with you to prove to you how wrong you are. They have no interest in being wrong. And unfortunately, we enter into those conversations far too often. If you yourself are willing to put your point forward, knowing that you may be wrong, the idea of a Sikh, a learner, is somebody who is always willing to learn more. Somebody who is always willing to say, I probably don't have the right answer. I'm probably wrong. That is the definition of a learner. Somebody who has all the answers and is willing to always be right and never be wrong, they are a teacher. They are not a Sikh. They are not a student. They're not a learner. And within our tradition, only the wisdom of Gurmat, the Guru, is the only true wisdom that is always correct. But the students are never going to be always correct. I like to think about Gurmat as a school. The Guru is the teacher, and when we enter the school, we are going in willing to be wrong. But the great thing about this school is you never graduate. You are always a Sikh. You're never someone who's learnt it all. You're always the learner. You will never graduate from this school. And if you're willing to be in a school where every day you might be wrong, that is the mindset that you need to go and have a debate and vichaar with someone. It's the right attitude to have a discussion. So that's the way that I would look at between Sach and India. You talked about the other things was anger and anger and chardi kala.
Honest pride.
One example would be that if you were to go to the philosophy of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, if you are at war, the war is never personal. When you strike someone, you're eradicating evil. You are not fighting the person but his evil deeds. So a Sikh who enters a war believes in his cause. And if you were to strike and kill someone in a battlefield, that's designed to eradicate evil. And a Sikh never kills, never attacks someone who's already defeated or who surrenders. So when you go to war, it's always in chardi kala, never in anger. So that was the two differences. Both are energies, anger. One is positive and one is negative.
I think you've answered it. That's a very good way to look at it. What I would add to this is that a very similar debate happens in the Bhagavad Gita. And some people get uncomfortable when we start talking about these subjects, but I think there's a value in it if you ignore or if you're able to overcome the fact that it's from an ancient Indic tradition. In the Bhagavad Gita, the stage is set as the Mahabharata, the great battle. And on one side is Arjun, and he's sitting on a chariot, and his charioteer is Lord Krishna. On the other side is all of Arjun's family members, and including his own teacher is sitting on the other side. And Arjun is sitting and having this great conflict in him. How can I start this war with the people on the other side when they are people who I have respected and lived with and grown up with? Krishna is one that I think that we should all learn from. His answer is that you now have no choice in the matter. The world has unfolded in such a way that you are on this side of the battlefield and they are on that side of the battlefield. For you to walk away from this is for you to reject Dharam. That is the system that is being presented to you. Dharam is that you must now do your duty. You are a warrior and your mindset is in such a way that they must be defeated. Regardless of who it is on the other side, that is your Dharam. You now have to play the role that has been presented to you, but you should have no worry about the outcome. And Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says that this is the definition of Dharam: one who acts but has no desire for the outcome. He has no interest in what the outcome is. He understands that hukam is flowing through him. Whatever is the hukam, he has to do it. So in the same way, I would look that you should engage in debate, discussion, war, as though you yourself are doing what is right for you. Because you mentioned a very interesting word. You said war is about good versus evil. But the truth of the matter is, both sides think they are defeating evil. Nobody thinks that they are the evil. Everybody thinks that they are good. Look at the beauty of the system. The universe has created a system where both people think they are good and both think that they have to destroy an evil enemy. So there is no real question of right or wrong. There is simply a question of left or right, of opposites that have been created, and this is the system. So the battle has to take place because that is what is in hukum. Very good question though, thank you so much. And please feel free to contribute. You all have a much better understanding of Gurbani than I do. So please, if there are any shabads or anything that contradict what I'm saying or complement what we're saying, then please feel free to put your hand up as well. It can just keep the conversation going. Any other question? Vijay, did you have a question or not yet?
Well,
You want to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yes, please.
I don't really have a question, but I've got a statement to make. I've been in Australia for 60 years. And when 60 years I've been here. And when we first came here, and then I got married, brought my wife and children grew up here. And we had a great difficulty in bringing them up in Punjabi or Sikhi way, because there were no gurdwaras. So, in fact, we had to initiate to get things going. And so for us, it was a great difficulty in bringing up the children. And for the first time, I came across your Google, YouTube programs. And the first time I actually heard somebody speaking English well, and where the kids can be related to what you say. And what I'm asking you is that, do you have a collection of all the talks that you've given, which I can collect and have programs, my own house, my children, my grandchildren, and put them on the right path? You're the closest thing that I've come across, so thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Really, I don't do anything. Really, I don't do anything. Whatever the Guru allows me to do, that's the only thing that's happening here. So I always say that greatness goes back to our teachers. So if a student is great, then it's really respect to the teacher, and Tan Guru Nanak Dev Ji for allowing this to happen. The simple answer to your question is yes, we do have a collection. Our YouTube channel is a collection of all of those videos, and they're searchable and you can type them in. So if you go to YouTube and type in Nanak Naam, you will not only see the list of videos, but one of the first things that will come up will be the YouTube channel, what's called a channel. So you click on Nanak Naam within YouTube and you will get all of our videos. And we strongly recommend you to do what you've just suggested. And I recommend everyone, please get groups of people together and start watching this. Not because we want you to watch our videos, because that we have found is the most effective way to get people to learn. If you sit in a group, and even if it's a family members, 4 or 5 of you, or even if you get your friends and relatives over once a month, and you say, we're going to watch 2 or 3 videos, and then we're going to talk about it. Do we understand it? Does it make sense? Feel free to contradict. Feel free to say he doesn't know what he's talking about, but talk. Because there'll be somebody in the audience or somebody in your group that will learn something from that. It is the most effective way. It goes back to the first question that we discussed. How do you teach children? You can't teach them with one lesson, but you can teach them with repetition. So I highly recommend you will be doing, not just myself, but all of your family members, a great service to create some sort of weekly, monthly, annual, biannual group where you get together and you sit and you actually talk about these subjects. And one of the projects that we're working on is we want to create some structure for groups like yours. So that we can say, if you're willing to get a group of 10 people together once a week, once a month, we will provide you the videos to watch and the conversations to have and the discussion points. So all you have to do is to facilitate. You just have to find a venue or do it in your living room and give them some chapani, and that's about it. Yeah? We want to do that, and that's one of the projects that we're working on, hopefully this year. And so I But in the meantime, there's nothing stopping you from starting and just watching these videos. One of the other things we recommend is we're going to be putting a lot more Naam Simran guided meditations on there, because we know that this is the number one thing that people are asking for. How do we actually do it? Don't talk about it, show us how to do it. And again, we recommend people, already there are 2 meditations on our site, and you can always Google YouTube and actually just sit down and do some Naam Simran. What we provide is what we feel nobody else is doing right now, which is we are providing Naam Simran with some techniques in between. In the West, this technique is very, very popular. It's called guided meditations, where somebody is talking you through, now try this, now do this. So you are learning how to do it. And I believe in days where people had a living teacher, or they had somebody who they could ask, they could keep going back and said, okay, I did this in meditation, what's the next step, what's the next step? Today we do that through social media and online, through these YouTube videos. Again, get people together in a group. What I would recommend the structure is, get people together and do a Simran. Do a little half an hour, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, you all sit down and you just play a video. Play the video, meditate first, it gets everyone into the right frame of mind, ready to do vichaar.
That'll be more than enough.
Yeah, even if you get a handful, if you could get 2 or 3 people, it'll be more than enough. It's a good starting point. So like this, we've been very lucky that we now have groups like this all over the world. So we have 1 or 2 in Canada, we have 1 in Thailand, we have a couple in the UK already set up. So we're trying as much as possible to encourage people to set up these kind of groups, because this is far more effective than me coming once every 6 months or once every 6 years. It's far more effective because you get continuous learning within the group. So thank you. If you do set one up, or if anyone sets one up, please do, and send us a little message saying we're doing a weekly class. Then I will know when we set up more content, you'll be the first people that we contact to say, here's a syllabus, now you can follow this. Here's a 10-week program, now you can do this together. So thank you.
Have your contact?
Yes, from our website, nanaknaam.org, you can contact us. Thank you so much. Question here?
Benji? You have a bit of...
Oh, sure. I'm asking this on behalf of my mum. Her question is that when we do path, it says, Jojan tumri pagat karante tinke kaaj samata. So people who don't do pagat, unna de kaaj?
They say God is partial.
Is he partial then?
Okay, so the question is, Jojan tumri pagat karante tinke kaaj samata. Those servants who meditate, their affairs are resolved. Their problems in life are solved. And one bench is saying possibly that God works in partial ways. So only the ones who deserve it receive it. The way I like to understand it, it's sort of halfway in between that, is that Gur Prasad or God is impartial, but it is only the ones who are willing to receive that receive it. So the analogy that I once heard from a Kathavachik, and I can't remember who it was, has stuck with me for a very long time. And he said that if you are in your room and you want the sun to shine into your room, but you never open the curtains, can you blame the sun? The sun is shining to everyone equally. The sun doesn't decide who it's going to shine on. But if you do not make the effort to open the curtains, you will not be able to receive that. And that is how I understand Bhakti, is that willingness to start experiencing God. So that is how their cards survive. That is how their affairs get resolved. That is how their life gets solved. How the problems in their life get better. I think you have a follow-up point. Richie, can we get the mic? Sorry, just a mic, 1 second.
Sorry, I'm full of questions. I feel like a question back here too. But then the thing is, it's not up to us when we feel like drawing the curtains apart, isn't it? It's up to Him when He blesses us with that vision.
Completely
that we
true.
feel like. But then I can't get up on it really. I've tried a lot of times and I've snoozed and I don't wake up.
Yeah.
Does that mean I should stop trying? Because maybe I'll time nahi aayega.
No. What do you have left when you realize that you should be doing something, but it's not in your control, what's the one thing you have left? Ardas. You've given a really good example. I cannot wake up every morning. I've tried. If, starting tonight, you went to bed with one ardas, it doesn't have to be the formal ardas with all the words, but a heartfelt request, I want your help to get up early in the morning. See what happens tomorrow. Because there is one thing to like the idea of waking up in the morning, the other is to be so desperate for it that you are begging for it. If you beg for it, maybe not tomorrow morning, and maybe not the next morning, but every night when you go to sleep, I want your help. Not I want to wake up. You're not giving God a demand. I need your grace to wake up early. And then when you don't wake up early and you wake up your normal time, you start the next morning with ardas. Morning ardas, evening ardas, only one. Don't ask for too many things. Yeah? You can't handle too many things. Ask for one gift within a week, then let's have a conversation. I learnt a lot about Gurbani and Gurmat actually reading a Japji Sahib translation written by Rajneesh Osho. And some people find him controversial, but I highly recommend his Japji Sahib Katha. Extremely powerful. He's got a book called The True Name, which is his full Katha on Japji Sahib, full explanation. He says that you have never really wanted God. You have never wanted God in deep desperation. And the ones who really want God want them like you would if your child was missing. What would that feeling of desperation be? If your house was on fire, what would that feeling of desperation be? He says, you've never wanted God that much. And so what we do, again another one of his analogies in the Japji Sahib, he says that you go to the ocean with a teaspoon and you expect to take home the whole ocean. We do 1 minute of ardas or 5 minutes of Simran and we expect enlightenment. That is like going to the ocean with a teaspoon and expecting to take the whole teaspoon back. It's not enough work. He said because we think like the work we do should get the pay that we deserve. So if you work for an hour, you might receive $100. You think, I know 1 hour is equivalent to $100. Then 1 hour of Naam Simran is not equivalent to enlightenment. And I think that example really helped me to understand that this is where Gurbani says that the bride has not made her husband happy yet. The bride herself is waiting for her husband. A point as well here, just on this side. Sorry, Gurbaksh is getting exercise today.
I just want to add a point like how we can wake up early. Think about like when we have plans, we are going to the holidays and you set up your alarm for 5 o'clock, but you wake up at 4 o'clock. It happens to me always.
Before the alarm goes
yes.
off.
So it's just how desperate I am. I just
yeah. Or how excited you are about it.
Yes.
Usually has a follow-up point behind you. Just be careful of the feedback from the microphones and the speakers.
Just one thing, I think, for waking up in the morning. I read a story, it was very nice, and it said like, if you try it 10 days, 11th day you will be waking up before the alarm. So it said, and most of the people who tried it honestly, like they wake up before the alarm on the 3rd day. So all you need to do is, before you go to bed, commit that if you don't wake up by the alarm time or you snooze it, you will throw away your one precious thing. So it could be whatever, jewelry, your favorite book, whatever, you know.
It's getting that fear and that desperation.
Yes, it says like you do that, and it's again the story from East, from India. So it's someone comes to us suddenly and say like, I cannot wake up early in the morning. And it's like, do this for 10 days, and after you will wake up early. And you do it 3 days, and really I have tried that. You will wake up before the alarm. Yes.
It's a very good suggestion. So the suggestion, a few more coming. One here in the front, and then one VJ at the back. So 1 point here. So for those who didn't hear that, the suggestion was that if you commit to waking up early every day, the consequence of you not waking up is that you have to get rid of something that you like. Yeah, you have to throw something precious away, and then see how quickly you'll wake up in the morning. Yeah, very good suggestion. While we're on this subject, there's a very good video by the late Bhai Satpal Singh on how to wake up early at Amrit Vela. Highly recommended. I remember watching it and found it very impressive. I can't remember what he says now, so I won't be able to repeat it, but I remember, now that we're talking about the subject, I remember he's done a very good video on this subject. So, basics of Sikhi, how to wake up Amrit Vela, highly recommended. I remember his suggestions were very good.
Which my question is, I have been waking up. मेरे नाल थोड़ा जा बोल होया कि I started waking 4, but then I was so excited to do it. I started waking up 3. Then I started waking up 2.
Oh dear.
Now I can't sleep. I'm so restless that I wake up at 1 o'clock and I can't go to sleep. So I don't know how I balance that because it's actually affecting my life.
Okay. Are you, when you can't sleep, are you still waking up and doing Amrit Vela or?
Yes.
Okay. What is the feeling while you're doing Amrit Vela? Okay. You've got the wrong feeling while doing Amrit Vela. Yeah? I suspect this is nothing to do with Amrit Vela. I suspect this is something deeper within your own character. That you are, I'm getting the impression that there's a restlessness in many things that you do. Not just in the Amrit Vela. And use your Amrit Vela as the antidote to your restlessness. So the question was that I keep waking up so early that I can no longer sleep because I'm so active in my mind and so overexcited. I would suggest slow your Amrit Vela down. Not, what I mean by that is not the amount that you do or the time that you do. While you're doing your part, while you're doing Nityanim, while you're doing Naam Simran, whatever you're doing in Amrit Vela, slow the pace of it down so that you use Amrit Vela as the Sahaj, as the way to get into Sahaj. Not that you're doing Amrit Vela so fast that you're even trying to finish Amrit Vela quickly. You're just keeping yourself in this adrenaline rush, in this excited state. That much adrenaline is not good for your body. It's going to have an impact on your body very quickly. Yeah? So you need to start getting into this Sahaj Avastha. Very still, very calm. Gurbani is like getting you into a very nice, relaxed, beautiful, peaceful, blissful state. Not excited state. So I would recommend that you, when you do get up for Amrit Vela, try to find a technique that is slowing your excitement down.
Can you suggest something?
What do you do for Amrit Vela? Prakash? You have Gurmat Sahib at home? Okay, and then? Japji Sahib. How long do you do Japji Sahib for? 10 minutes? I'll give you my personal example. I can't do Japji Sahib in less than half an hour. Yeah? Because I'm taking my time and I'm enjoying so much the meanings of each word, yeah, that I'm getting so much fal and ras out of it. So it sounds like you're rushing, that you're doing Japji Sahib in 10 minutes. It feels like it's a checkbox for you. Nityanim hogi, I've done my Japji Sahib, like I've done my duty. Guru is not trying to make you do your duty. Guru is trying to get you into a state of bliss. So maybe you suggested 3 things. Maybe one of them you do, but nice and slowly. Yeah, try one of them and take your time. The amount of time that it takes to do all of that is maybe like 45 minutes or half an hour. Do one thing and really get into that calm, peaceful state. Yeah? It's going to start having an effect on you, and I can see that. Yeah? Yeah? But thank you for sharing and being so brave as well. I know it can't be easy. Thank you so much. We can maybe talk afterwards if we want to talk more about this. I believe there was a hand at the back. There was one Viji here. Ajay? Ajay, that's my son's name. Gurmat Singh? Yes, here.
Khalsa और हजर की फतेह। Viji, मेरा question हैगा कि there are moments in your life when you are low or something wrong happens or something where you start connecting and you go for a class and you start asking that get me through this particular event, get me through this situation. And even this kind of camps, you come here and you feel more connected and you feel you're doing something. But when those events passes away or you move away from these things, then the surge of which you have or the passion at that time which has come up, it starts dissipating over a period of time. So could you suggest or share some thoughts on how do you ensure that you keep the consistency throughout so that you are not losing this and it's not momentarily from time to time in your life?
Yeah. Now, so the question is, when you have a reason to meditate, when there's some sort of happening in your life and you have a reason to get up and meditate and do part and be committed to your spiritual practice, then it lasts as long as there's a problem, but once the problem goes away, it seems to fade away. The suggestion I'm going to give you is my own personal suggestion, and it's not what somebody would say, okay, well, this is the Guru's suggestion or this is the Gurmat way of doing it. I'm going to give you now my personal suggestion. And so please feel free to argue or disagree with me. If you eat the same food for 50 days, you're going to get bored. Right? You will not eat the same meal 50 days in a row. So, in the same way, all that is happening is that your mind is getting bored. And you're not able to consistently do it because it runs out of the enjoyment. The enjoyment runs out and then you don't get it. What I recommend is that you find 5 or 6 different things to do so that you can always change. Yeah? Sometimes doing Naam Simran out loud works beautifully. Sometimes you're doing it and it doesn't work. So what I will do then is I will listen to my favorite Simran. And if that favorite Simran doesn't work, then I'll listen to a different one. So you have a range of different things that you're trying so that you're able to consistently go through them. So I would say choose 5 or 6 different meditations, let's call them, different Naam Simran techniques. Yeah? And realize sometimes one of them might be I'm going to go for a walk and do Naam Simran outside. Because I've personally found you sit in a room with 4 walls around you, it's very hard to connect to anything. You look out the window and all of a sudden it just changes the experience. You walk outside and do it, it's an even different experience. So that would be my recommendation. So we'll go to the last maybe 2 questions. There's one hand up over here. Gurbaksh, can you hold the mic for them please, yeah? Hold it near there. Just because people can't hear it sometimes and it won't get picked up.
I always get confused in taking stand for things and letting go things.
Can you give me an example?
Like if something bad happens to me, I always think, let it go. And sometimes I always think I should have spoken that time.
And then you regret it afterwards.
Yeah.
My question back to you would be that if you were presented with the same scenario the second day, would you still stand up or would you still react in the same way?
Sorry.
So my question to you would be, after the first day you feel like I should have said something or done something, Do you ever do it on the second day? Do you ever go back and do it?
No.
No. So your heart is telling you that at that point, you don't feel ready to stand up for it. So you are acting in the best way that is right for you at that point. Because if you should have said something, you can always pick up the phone or you can always go and speak to the person the second day, but you don't. That tells you that you don't feel ready to stand up for that, whatever that thing is. Now the question is, you have to understand something very, very easily forgotten. Easily forgotten. Everything we do is to make us happy. Every single step you take is to make you happy. So when you don't take a particular step, you decided in my mind that me not taking the step feels a bit better right now because taking the step feels too scary. I can't take the step. I don't know what's going to happen. What you are not worried about is the fact that I didn't take the step. That's not your problem. Your problem is I didn't take the step and I keep thinking about why I didn't take the step. Not taking the step was the right thing to do for you. Holding on to that decision is the wrong thing for you. So you have to now learn that I did what was best for me. If I could have done something better, I can even do it now. Or I can even do it tomorrow. And if my heart every time gets scared for not doing that thing, it means my heart is telling me, no, you're not ready right now. If the same thing happened with a different person, a person that you're more comfortable with, or somebody who you feel like you have more authority over, you probably would do it. So your heart tells you at that time, this feels like it's okay. And when it feels like it's not okay, it tells you. Which means your mind is giving you the option, do you want to take the difficult route, which is very hard and we don't know what the consequences are, or shall we take the easy route because that's the best solution right now? So can you now be at peace with the decision that you've made? The only way that you can say, no, I can't be at peace with the decision I've made, is if it has had a consequence for other people. If you should have stood up for that person, you should have stood up against that person so that it helped other people. Then you now have to think, have I been unfair to them for not standing up? If it is for you, you should be able to just try and let that go. If it is for someone else, then your heart is saying, I still have care and feeling for that person, that I still want to help them. I should have stood up against this person to help that person. Then you need to think, what else can I do to help that person? If it is for yourself, how can I let go and realize that I made the best decision for me? I wouldn't make this a different decision. If it is for someone else, that one still feels hard. What else can I do? Yeah, I hope that helps.
Last question.
Can I ask a short one?
Last question. Can we just give a chance to anyone who hasn't asked, and if it isn't, then I'll come to you. Is there anyone?
Last question.
No more, then we'll come to VG here because he's already got a question. Okay. We have one? So VG, we'll go with them please, yeah? Just so that everyone gets a chance.
Khalsa, Vijay, I have a question which is more personalized. I feel that whenever I ask Babaji for something, I feel that, and if I don't get it, I really believe in hukum, but I still feel that maybe I've done something wrong to someone in the past. That's why this is my karma, and I just be in that guilt forever. That, oh my God, I'm not getting this because maybe I did not do right to someone or something else. So it's that first thing is that I'm not able to take that hukum. That's one. And number two, once
the other thing is that I'm in the guilt that it's because I was maybe unfair to someone. And this guilt sometimes goes like way too much.
When you feel that you might be guilty for doing something to someone, do you ever have clarity in your mind what that thing is? Like, it's because I did this one specific thing.
To be honest, it can be as small as that maybe I was rude to, let's say, maybe I was rude to my parents. Maybe I was rude to my mom-in-law. Maybe I was immature and I made some decisions which I shouldn't have taken. But again, that comes to me for a very small thing as like, you know, oh my God, this didn't happen maybe because I didn't do something right. So I keep myself in that, you know, in that thought. Yes, it's always like, oh my God, you didn't do this, so that's why it's happening to you. So.
And is the thing that you don't receive ever related to that person, or are they sometimes completely unrelated?
No, totally unrelated.
Okay, so you're half right and half wrong. You're half right that it is in your karma why you haven't received it. You're wrong in thinking that it's because you've done something. And part of the reason why we start to find something to blame is because we can't accept hukum. We can't accept hukum, so our mind starts to blame something. And I'm getting the impression that you're an overthinker. So this is not even a fault of what you have done. This is now a fault of just overthinking. You really haven't done anything wrong. You did whatever you felt was right at that time. Even if you've been rude to someone, at that time you felt that was the right thing to do, and then you keep overthinking. I should have done this, I shouldn't have done this, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And the only solution for overthinking is underthinking. You have to find a technique to underthink, to slow your thoughts down, and to find a meditative practice, whatever that may be for you. You must find that, because once you start doing some meditative practice, you will automatically be able to accept hukum better. So really not coming down to what you haven't received or what you have done to not receive it. It really comes down to your overactive mind. And now the question is, what am I going to do to relax my mind? What am I going to do? And this is a suggestion for everyone who feels that meditation is too hard. The suggestion I make is look back in your life and think about a moment when you felt the most spiritual bliss. What is the most spiritual bliss you have ever felt? What spiritual practice were you doing at that time? I recommend every single person to go away and think, what is the most ananda that I ever felt? And what was I doing at that time? And I bet you have one. One moment in your life that you said, that felt amazing. That is your heart telling you, that's what I want you to do more of. Do that. Because you have already experienced your highest bliss. But you keep ignoring it and trying to find your highest bliss from other things. From asking for other things. Even if you receive everything that you're asking for, you still will not get the highest bliss that you got in that moment. So spend time trying to do that. And I hope I'm making that point very clear for people. Whatever you were doing at that point, if you were listening to Kirtan, if you were singing Kirtan, if you were reading Gurbani, if you were listening to part, whatever you were doing at the moment of your highest bliss, try and do that every day. Kirtan, Naam Simran, part, Gurbani, whatever it was. Sitting by a lake and enjoying Kudrat. Do more of that, because that is the only time when you yourself have demonstrated to yourself that my mind can be quieter. So I hope that this has helped. I really constantly want to re-emphasize this point. Everything that I'm saying is just my understanding of Gurmat. It may be totally wrong. I do not sit here because I'm an expert. I sit here because you've allowed me to sit here. Because you've so graciously blessed me to sit here, not because I'm some expert. I'm probably wrong, and those of you who are sitting there thinking that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, you're probably right. So please do not take my answers as the final answer. If they help you, please take them, and if they don't help you, please don't keep any anger, frustration or hatred in your mind. Don't let me live in your mind. I don't need any space there. I already have somewhere to live. Please only keep the Guru and Gurbani and the Guru's wisdom in your mind and nothing else. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji